Greetings. Here we have the latest and greatest in vintage computer emulation, the 400 Mini. And this is the case is modeled after the Atari 400 home computer. As a matter of fact, it's an exact reproduction, but scaled down a bit. But it does support all of the Atari 8-bit vintage computers. The box shows us a picture of everything that is supported, and we have, of course, the granddaddy of them all, the Atari 800, which was very similar to the 400, but was the more expensive version with a real keyboard and more memory. The GS, or the game system, the 130XE, the 800XL, and as a bonus, the Atari 5200 game console. There are some missing from here. There was a 600XL that only had 16K. There were a few other models in here, but this pretty much supports them all. So software written for any of these should run on this. And that's what we're going to have a look at today. And here's what's in the box. The unit itself and the joystick, which almost overpowers the unit. Almost, but it'll give you a true indication of size. It's 6 inches wide. Weighs next to nothing. Has a bunch of USB ports, 4 of them on the front, allowing you to insert 4 controllers and play those 4-player games. And on the back, it has a 5th USB port, an HDMI port, that's the only video output you get, and a USB 3 power connector over here, and the power switch. And that's it. The rest of the outside of this is non-functional. Well, non-functional. Keyboard doesn't work, which works real good for me because I don't want to be standing here typing like this. Especially here on the recessed function keys over here that I wouldn't even be able to get into. The cartridge door doesn't open. It's just there for show, but it looks really good. I like it, but we should probably first have a look inside and see what makes it tick. But first, the joystick, which is formed exactly like the original joysticks, but with a few added bonuses here. For instance, the keyboard. You will need the keyboard to play some of the games, because it'll ask you, press a number for difficulty or answer yes or no. It does require keyboard input, but the way they handled that, and we'll look at it later, there's a shortcut where you can bring up an on-screen keyboard and using the joystick, basically go to the letter. Using the on-screen keyboard, you can enter keyboard commands into it. Other than that, because these function buttons are missing, they're essentially replicated in this ring, which is only there for decoration on the originals, but here there's actually 4 buttons embedded. Up here, left, right, and down. So they're not direction keys, but again, they're a duplicate of these keys. Takes a little bit getting used to, but it works. Then, of course, we have the trigger here. That's normal. But the trigger also is doubled in a shoulder button over here, which actually once in a while gets annoying, because when you play with this, you will inadvertently hit the shoulder button and sometimes cause weird things to happen. Then there's a menu button, and there's a return to main menu. So once you're running something, if you click this, it'll return you to the main menu. I may have that mixed up, what exactly they do, but they do work. Feel is almost exactly like the original, of course, like in not a worn out original, because most of the originals are really worn out by now. This has a good feel to it. It's of course a digital joystick, and they had to deal with the issue of making this simulate an analog joystick, because a lot of the Atari games use the analog paddle. Think of games like Breakout, and they kind of came up with a solution, but I think I need to play with it a little more to get it to work super good. But we'll talk about what I think this does a little later on. For now, let's go back and have a peek inside. Alright, open sesame. I mean, look at this thing. Even all of the cooling fins, top, rear, are faithfully reproduced. Well, they're not totally useless. I mean, that's, I guess, how the interior gets kept cool or has a little bit of airflow. There's no fans in here. But, yeah, I mean, they didn't miss a beat on reproducing the original shape. So, I've removed 4 screws. And here we are. We can see the 4 USB ports in front. This is a USB controller. We do have the other USB input over here, the 5th one. And I don't know how many ports this chip can handle, but it's, I mean, it's either piggybacked onto this set of 4, or it goes through the processor. Processor handles it. We have, let's see, which is which. We have flash RAM or NAND over here. We have an SRAM that's, I looked that up, it's 256K. And then we have a processor hidden under this tiny heatsink here. And I'm going to have to bring a breaker bar to get this thing off, but I'm not going to. But after reading a little bit online, I'm just going to pass on that information. I don't know how true it is. So this supposedly hides an ARM Cortex, but does everything. I mean, there's really nothing else on here. We have some conditioning circuitry over here and filtering, but this is it. There's place for more here, probably SRAM. There's space for 2 more USB ports here. So you could just put, I guess you could just put the USB plugs on here, even though there's no easy way to bring them to the outside because you'd have to cut the case. And that's about it. That's there's nothing of substance underneath other than lots of traces and a test connector. Bunch of headers have not been soldered in. Well, that's USB, but then there's these 2 headers. And it's got some weights underneath, a total of 4. So this is not RF suppression or anything like that. It's just because this thing is so light. I think it would kind of slide all over your desk surface or wherever you're playing this, but this probably just the right amount to make it sit still, even if you have an HDMI cable plugged into the back. Okay, so we got the controller plugged into player or controller 1. We have an HDMI cable to the monitor, and of course the USB 3 power cable over here. So let's switch over to the monitor to see what happens. Okay, let's hit the power button. Click. Takes a little while for it to boot up. It's kind of like an early PC, but there you go. So it's got, what, 24 built-in games. And I don't hear any sound. That was interesting. Okay. Anyway, here are the games that are included. And that's pretty much, that's what it comes with. However, the back of the box says, load your own games via USB. Okay. Oh, compatible with thousands of Atari 800, 400, 800, XLXE, and 5200 games. Game files must be legally obtained. Let's see, can you see that? There on the back in the red writing, it does tell you to legally obtain the files. However, they give you no support on how to obtain them legally. There are a bunch of options that you can use to set screen width, aspect ratio, and stuff like that. One problem I found with this is that, and we'll see that later on, is some of the games run too fast. It may have something to do with it mistaking the game for running in 50 hertz or 60 hertz or something like that, but some games definitely run too fast. You can tell both by the play action and by the speed of the sound of the music. But it's kind of strange because it's not consistent. Some do it, some don't, some work fine, and some don't work at all. There are some DIY games that I've seen that, you know, were written in the last few years and come from Europe, and they don't work at all. So this doesn't support PAL. But yeah, we can get to something. Let's do Centipede. So that's basically what Centipede looks like on the Atari 800 series home computers. Okay, that now, see, now I'm confused because I don't know which side of the ring is the start button. Press select for 2 players, press start to play. That's not it. That's not it. Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah, as you can see, the quality of the games isn't much better than a... Oh, I guess it's waiting for player 2 now. I started a player 2 game. But anyway, fortunately, it's got the button on the controller. And if you press the right button, it goes back to the menu. So there's always a way out. Mule would be fun to play, but you need at least 2 players to play Mule. Then of course we got Miner 2049er, which does work. Hey, wait a minute. When I ate that thing, I was supposed to be invincible. Oh, I guess I wasn't. And so forth. I mean, it's kind of strange looking at these games in HDMI. I played these games a lot back in the day, and I still can't get used to the quality on the screen. But that's, so basically out of the box, that's what you get. And now we should get to the part that makes this much more useful than it is just plain out of the box. We need to legally obtain some game images and see if it'll run those game images. Now, before I forget, many thanks to my friend Heffy, who generously donated this to the channel. And it's people like Heffy who help me out a lot. So now, the way you expand this is you get, well, expand it, you put other game files on it, is you take a bunch of, you legally obtain some Atari disk image files, you put them on a USB stick, and the game's supposed to recognize the stick, and then looking at the file, figure out, you know, how to set internal options and play that game. Now that took me a little longer than I would have preferred. I went through a few USB sticks, and not all USB sticks are created equally. The only instructions they give you is they say the stick must be formatted with FAT32. All right. So the first candidate is this 4 gig stick. They sell these by the pound on Amazon. It came formatted in 32 gigs. I mean in FAT32. I dumped a few game files on it and the game wouldn't recognize it. After doing some research, it said one of the problems with these is that even though they're formatted in FAT32, they may not have a master boot record on them. And that's needed. And you basically need to reformat this on your PC, not using quick format, but doing a full format, which even on a 4 gig still takes a few minutes. But I did that, and it still wouldn't recognize it. Well, fine. It's probably some sort of incompatibility. You get what you pay for. So on we went. What was the next one? We went to this cruiser. Oh, those, yes, those. These are, of course, 4 gigs. Then we have this 1 gig one. And I went through the same with this. It would not recognize it. Since we were having such a good time, I went on to this 2 gig one. I mean, they work fine on the PC. I copied things, I verified things. They are fully functional, but the software in here, I guess, is incompatible with a lot of the chips. The NAND chips, the flash chips used on these, or not those actually, but the interface processor. So then I was kind of out of options, and I did what I thought surely would not work. I had this 64 gig stick. It's a SanDisk stick. The oddity about this is when you take it factory fresh and you stick it in your PC, it will actually show up as a FAT32 stick, which really is That's not legal because FAT32 only supports up to 32 gigs with whatever the sector size is. But I think they played games with these at the factory and increased, doubled the sector size so that it's running FAT32, but you know, it's able to cover the entire 64 gigs with that. I mean, it takes some magic because if you put this into a PC and try to format it to FAT32, the PC doesn't even give you the option. It insists on formatting this in exFAT, and so, you know, this didn't, hopes weren't high, but it worked. And of course, the weird thing is I used less than 1/100th of this for a huge array of games, probably a couple thousand. But hey, this one works. So let's go back, look at the screen, and see how this works. Okay, so I muted the TV because for two reasons. First of all, the music got very monotonous. Second of all, it may get me a copyright strike if this background music is copyright by whoever made this thing. Well, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So anyway, we're looking back at the screen, and what I'm going to do live now for all of you is plug the USB stick in the back of the device. And of course, here's a stick, 64 gig SanDisk. So, click, boom. So, see to the left of Millipede, shows the picture of the USB stick, and it is selectable now. And it saw it immediately. Here's all of the stuff on this disk. Yeah, so the first thing we should probably try is, does it run BASIC? So you select it, and then you press the home button, which was the button on the right, which I said was the main menu button, but press the home button and that will start this code. And there you go. So now we can write, you know, we should write our artifact demo and have that scroll, but yeah, that's going to be very painful. So fortunately what I found they put in is there's a shortcut to bring up the on-screen keyboard. There it is. So now it's going to take a few hours to write that program, but it is still kind of nice to see how readable the text is. Okay, there you have it. So now I press the home button again, and oh wait, I got to press the enter button so it tells me, where is it? Delete, escape. So the enter button, I'm blind, I can't see it. Or maybe I'm supposed to use what's on the joystick. Yeah, there you go. Okay, nice. Back to home. And it kind of remembers the last game you played. But as you can see, yeah, it does pretty much, well, it does, let's try something else. I haven't tried a whole bunch of these. I tried a few before. Some of them work, some of them don't. Most of them actually do work, but so Demon Attack, we got 4 versions of it. We select that and we press the home button. And that's basically a Atari 2600 games with upgraded graphics. So what do you think? Can we risk turning on the sound? We gotta live dangerously. Oh, it's no music. So yeah, you know, not much to say. Played that one. Oh no. Unfortunately, it doesn't remember where it was in the folder structure. Well, it does remember once you hit the button, but it always goes back to the home screen. And I guess that's intentional, but so we have to press, where was it? Oh, the back. You can see that in the middle of the screen above the current media text. It says back, press the right ring. So that's up in the directory structure. And we can do this for a really long time, but you know, it does play pretty much everything. See, I said it plays everything and it crapped out on that one. Let's see if we use the other one. It's a different file format. And that doesn't work either. Oh well. But one thing I do want to try is the Atari 5200 emulation. Now in order to play that, I don't know. Pango? I'm trying to think if that has music that could be copyright. Oh, we'll find out. Okay, now for some reason it put that up as a second image to play. Not sure how that works, so I'm going to clear it, select it again, and run it. Oh. So what I haven't done is, what I forgot to do, is you actually have to go into the game settings and tell it that this is a Atari 5200 game. There you go. And then, you know, you can see additionally we get these joystick settings. We'll talk about that right after this. And it does that once in a while. It blanks out and comes back. It's just kind of annoying, but, well. Anyway, let's see if this runs at least. If I set it, and there you go. No music. Press start. Whoa. Whoa. It is unhappy. I can't control. Oh, he jumps over. Anyway, let's briefly discuss how I think they're emulating an analog joystick. I should probably find like Breakout or Super Breakout and see how it handles that. So let's do that first, because those games use a paddle. Okay, what did I say? Breakout, okay. Oh no, there are so many games. Breakout. Breakout 2. I think Breakout 2 is Super Breakout. We'll find out. Yeah. You know, it does let you select 2 files. And I think what that's for is, let's say you go into Basic, and so it loads basically a basic DOS disk, but it doesn't need a data disk or the disk with your basic games on it. And this lets you select a second file, like a data file, that it automatically knows. It removes the DOS disk, and then it puts in that data disk, and you can just go to DOS and load things and play them. I saw that online somewhere. I haven't tried it. So let's first of all see if Breakout 2 plays. Well, that's not Super Breakout, but it's 2. So let's see what it does. That's Arkanoid. Now, Arkanoid uses a paddle in it. It works perfectly. Remember, yeah, it's a digital stick, so I guess in this case all it does, it maintains a value between 0 and 255, which is basically the resistor position that is returned by a paddle. And this, if you go on left, it decreases the value, and you go on right, it increases the value. And that's when you set sensitivity and speed and all of that, probably low-pass filters, how quickly the value gets counted up and all of that. So see here, it works near perfect, even though a paddle would be, I mean, it's kind of weird using a joystick for this, but yeah, it works just fine. Oh. Anyway, so you saw that the joystick does simulate a paddle somewhat correctly, and it does all sorts of neat stuff. But yeah, this is going to take me a really long time to actually get through what's on this stick. Yeah, so lots of stuff on here. So let's go into final thoughts. So here are my final thoughts on this. It's a really cool piece of computing history emulation. It looks fantastic, and it does a really good job at the emulation. Yes, we saw one game that didn't work. What was it? Invaders. There are others that don't work, but the percentage is relatively small that I've found of games that didn't work. It was around, what should I say, about 5% or less of the games just would return you to the home screen, meaning they couldn't handle it. And I could probably fix some of that by going into the options. You can set sticky options for every game you play, playing with the machine type, and so, you know, you can probably make it more reliable, but the reliability of it working with a majority of games is very good. So the downsides of it are, it's a bit pricey. I think the very cheapest you can get it for is about $120. I think retail's like $150 or $160. That's a bit steep. And I mean, initially they probably sold out, but eventually in the long run that might be a stumbling block. But hey, they'll just drop the price because all of the initial buyers have already paid them back their investment. The joystick is a nice addition. There are other options to use other joysticks Actually, any kind of a joystick that works through USB. And finally, what would I change? I probably wouldn't change a whole lot in this. It is what it is. I'd drop the price a bit, but other than that, nothing. Suggestions for future upgrades and accessorizing it. What if they came out with different cases that represent the different Atari machines? And they don't make you buy the whole thing all over again. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but you should have an option to just buy the case. So if you want yours to look like a Atari 5200, you can buy an Atari 5200 case for, I don't know, $25 or something, and just transplant the boards out of here into there. And I think that would be cool. I'd probably do that. I don't know how many people would do that, but that's how much I like this thing. Other than that, be a little bit more, they should be a little bit more verbose about what USB sticks to use, what works for them and what doesn't. I mean, these 64 gig ones worked off the shelf. And one word of caution, I did try to reformat one of these just for grins. It reformatted in exFAT and the machine wouldn't recognize it anymore. So if you buy something off a shelf, buy a name brand and do not format it on your PC. That's my advice for this. Would I suggest buying this? Yes. If you can afford it, buy it. It's really cool, and after a while, if you get bored with it, it makes a real nice paperweight. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and you know what to do. And we'll see you next time.